Greetings. About a year ago, I saw a magazine cover that proved to me the contrarian situation was going to happen. It was a classic magazine cover indicator. And now 1 year later, we're going to look at how that prediction turned out. Now, longtime viewers of this channel are familiar with my views on electrical vehicles as well as the even higher order disruption. So take, for example, internal combustion engines improve at 1 to 1.5% a year. That has been true for many decades. Electric vehicles improve at 7 to 8% a year. So while electric vehicles were not viable for a very long time, they're quickly becoming more effective in terms of power in relation to fuel consumed than internal combustion engine vehicles, and that's why the market share of these EVs is rising at a rapid rate. However, EVs are not the highest order disruption. The highest order disruption is this telework Zoom disruption, which is improving at 10 to 12% a year. And that improvement is measured by video resolution and bandwidth efficiency and other such factors of measurement of video conferencing quality. But today we are talking about this middle tier disruption, which is EVs. And being an interim technology middle tier means it is capped on the upside. Many people who could buy EVs, in fact, decide that they don't need to upgrade their car because they can do most or all of their professional work over Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and therefore delay buying a new car because, again, this is the higher order disruption because it is the most dematerialized. But returning to EVs, we go to an article from Inside EVs, the website, and Inside EVs talks about global EV sales hitting a new record, and we see this full year 2023 data. 35% increase in unit sales relative to 1 year prior, and 16% market share. That is huge. That means EVs have arrived and are not going anywhere as a technology. They've proven their market viability because many, many millions are now selling, and they are eating into internal combustion engine car sales. So now we also go to this chart to see the growth trajectory. This chart is complicated to read for those who are not familiar with this type of data representation. There are 6 calendar years represented, 2018 all the way to 2023. So now you have both the pre-COVID and post-COVID timeframe. And each of the colored bars represents the sales in that particular month for that year, so as to smooth out all seasonal factors. And so we see that EV sales have risen about 10x from 2018 to 2023, 5 years. And as we saw, 16% market share is pretty high. I have consistently said that EVs don't need to become all of new car sales, and they'll never be 100%. But once they get to 30 to 40%, then the choices available to the consumer are so extensive that oil prices can only trend downwards, and there is a considerably better competition field among all technologies, which means all technologies will improve. Internal combustion engine technology also improves because of EVs, because now there's more competition, and internal combustion engine technologies are improving, but again at that 1 to 1.5% a year trajectory that we saw earlier. Now, 1 year ago, I made a 3-part video series about this National Review cover where they said that there is a false promise of electric cars. And I described in great detail what the logical flaws in this article were, because this article said a lot of things that were true 20 or 25 years ago, but this is in early 2023, so just 1 year ago, and they were saying that there is a false promise when EVs were already selling by the millions. And now 1 year later, we see that there has been another 35% growth in the number of EVs sold just in calendar 2023, in the 1 year since this article was published. And now EVs are 16% of new cars sold. So this magazine cover will go down as one of the infamously wrong technological predictions that have been made about a major technology, especially when the technological disruption was already underway and pretty far entrenched in the marketplace. And conservatives are very against EVs for a variety of reasons that we're about to look at. And I go through a lot of the points that conservatives bring up when they criticize EVs and say that they are technologically not viable in that 3-part video series. And we'll review some of those here as well. But the irony is, conservatives like to make fun of Paul Krugman for saying that the internet will never have a significant economic impact, which Paul Krugman did say in 1998. This is a Nobel laureate PhD economist who made an infamously bad prediction about how the internet was not going to have a major economic impact. He failed to see that as a super theoretical PhD economist, he has no business predicting these types of things, and conservatives love to make fun of Paul Krugman for this. But his prediction was not even politicized. It was very general about the internet. Most people working in the internet vote Democrat anyway, and Paul Krugman is very closely tied to the Democratic Party. But conservatives like to trot this out as look at how bad his prediction was. This National Review cover is just as bad and is going to go down in history as an equivalent bad prediction because it is very, very similar to Paul Krugman's erroneous prediction about the internet. This is in early 2023. They say things that could have been said 20 years prior in 2003. That's when it could have been forgiven because very few people can understand exponential technology. But to say this in early 2023, when EVs are already selling by the millions, is just as bad as Paul Krugman's internet prediction. And more importantly, it is politicized, because they don't want EVs to happen simply because it is incompatible with the rest of their views and objectives, which they don't want to revise as times change. That's one of the problems with conservatism. They cannot adjust for technological and social changes, and that's why that quote from G.K. Chesterton earlier continues to be true, even though that was a quote from over 100 years ago. It is very prescient from G.K. Chesterton. So this is very embarrassing and reveals how conservatives are not good at making technological predictions either, and make predictions just as bad as the one Paul Krugman made. So PhD economists and conservatives are both shamefully bad in this area. Now we'll go through some of the common objections that conservatives have to EVs, despite the fact that 13 million new EVs sold in 2023.